Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from the Breeders Cup at Santa Anita Park. It is Saturday, November the 2nd, 2019. I'm going to look at all the championship races here on Saturday from Santa Anita, but before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and join me this Tuesday for my Melbourne Cup preview video. Excellent day of racing from Santa Anita. It doesn't get any better than this. So we have the World Championship Breeders' Cup races. So let's get into it right now. Let's get to the Mare Sprint, Race number 4 from Santa Anita. It's the Breeders' Cup Billionaire Sprint. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $1 million, race for fillies, mares, 3-year-olds, and upwards. We have 9 horses entered going to the main dirt track, the distance of ground of 1,400 meters, or the distance of ground of 7 furlongs on the Santa Anita main track. 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs here. And I've showed the diagram. It just gives me that little extra second to look down my notes. Just bear with me, especially during these big videos. I have a lot of notes to get through. And also it gives me that second just to, for a second. You know, I get a little stressed out during these big videos, so it just gives me, just relax for that split second. With that being said, my top selection here, I'm going to go with the one-horse Confefe. I'm going to go 1-4-6-9 in the superfecta. 1-4-6-9 super. Top selection is the one-horse Confefe. This trio filly by Into the Mischief. Brad Cox trains. Joe Rosario picks the mount up. The horse's most recent outing came 21st September at Churchill. 7 furlongs in the Dogwood Stakes. And the horse won by 8 lengths that afternoon. She stalked, she got the lead, and then she just destroyed the field, earning herself a career best 107 buyer. It doesn't get any better than that. Before then, the Grade 1 test is Saratoga, 7 furlongs August 3rd. The horse won by half length, and that day she stalked early on, she got the lead, and then she just went away with it. It wasn't as impressive as the Miss Preakness a few starts before, and it wasn't as impressive as the Dogwood, but that day she was facing tougher horses in the test. Second place finisher, Serengeti Empress, actually won the Kentucky Oaks earlier this year, so she beat some good horses home, earning herself a 98 buyer. It was a good run. And then before then, the Roxalana at Churchill, 6 furlongs, June 22nd. The only time she faced older horses, she crumbled. She finished 3rd by 3/4 in length there. She set the pace, but then she just kind of got caught. Everything just wasn't to her liking there. She also didn't break it that well. It just was a weird run. And then before that, 17th of May at Pamlico, 6 furlongs in the Miss Preakness. The horse won by 8.5 lengths and was the first sub 109, 6 furlongs at Pimlico. She broke the track record. 107.3 was the final time, winning by 8.5 lengths. She just went away with it and could have won by more if Javier wanted to, let her go more. But it was a very impressive run, second off the break. Last year, she if you look at her races as a 2-year-old, she ran okay in the Frizette. She broke her main very nicely at Churchill, but she's going to the 7 furlong trip here today off a little bit of refreshing. I got 2-1. I think she's sitting on the race for life. So let's take her here. If there's a horse that could possibly upset, it would be the 4-horse Come Dancing. If you're going to play this pick 4 that begins with this race, I would use her here. But this 5-year-old mare by Malibu Moon, Carlos Martin trains, Javier Castellano gets leg up. She won the Gallant Bloom very nicely at Belmont a few weeks ago, going 6.5 by 3.25 lengths. At 25 cents a dollar, she was supposed to win, and she won nicely. Very good race. She won the Ballerina before that, facing Olders. One of the subpar races. The only loss for a season so far came in the Ogden Fifths, where she finished second behind Midnight Bisou. But Midnight Bisou's on a level of her own. But this horse set the pace after not the best beginnings, and like I said, she just got caught by a better horse there. And then she won the Ruffian at Belmont very nicely. She's a horse. She's nearly undefeated this season. She's coming into the West Coast for the first time. Shouldn't be a problem. At 5'2", like I said, she's had a very good season. I'll also use her on the ticket if it rains, which is highly unlikely, but you never know. She's a horse that goes up even more with the sloppy track. She absolutely loves it, but I like her a lot. We'll use her on the pick 4 play. Looking over the other horses, Belfina could run a big race, but her last 2 were just disgusting runs. She's 4th in the cotillion against better horses, and then 3rd in the test against better horses. She hasn't really had fast buyer numbers to compete with the East Coast horses. She's a horse, if you have the extra bankroll, I would use her in the pick 4, but, she's just, she'll have to run a major race to win in my eyes. The 9-horse, Spice Perfection, if there's going to be a horse picking up the pieces late, which is very hard to do on the Santa Anita dirt track, but if there is a horse that's going to pick the pieces up, I think it could be her. She won the Thoroughbred Club of America Keelan very nicely a few weeks ago, and then she finished fourth in the human distance before that. But she's a horse. She has some backlash. She wants, if she could get a good trip and there's a pace meltdown, she could win. But I'm gonna go look the other way. I think Confefe and Come Dancing are the two horses that are just gonna much the best on paper. That Bayern numbers also prove it. But to recap my selections for the fourth from Santa Anita, it's the Grade 1 $1 million Breeders Cup Billionaire Sprint. Gonna take the one horse Confefe. We'll also use the four horse Come Dancing in the multi race. We'll go 1-4-6-9 in the superfecta. Let's get to this turf sprint, race number 5 from Santa Anita. The fifth race from Santa Anita, it's the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $1 million, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. Field of 14 horses entered, but only 12 could go the distance of ground of 1,000 meters or the distance of ground of 5 furlongs on the Santa Anita turf course. 1,000 meters, 5 furlongs turf course, and keep in mind, with this race is not down the hillside turf course like all the other sprint races used to be here at Santa Anita. It's starting on the backstretch like a normal turf sprint would start here in North America. So it's a completely different race. It's the first time they're running this 5 furlong turf sprint for the Breeders' Cup races at Santa Anita. Usually, like I said, it's down 6.5 down the hillside. But with that being said, I think it's a good race, and you're going to need a good, clean trip. With that being said, I'm going to go with the 3 horse Imprimis as a top selection. I'm going to go 3-5-10-2 in the superfecta. 3-5-10-2 super. Top selection, 3 horse Imprimis. This 5-year-old gelding by Broken Vow. Joseph Orsino trains. Frankie Dettori gets the mount on this one. The horse's most recent outing came the Grade 2 Woodford at Keeneland. 5.5 furlongs October the 5th, and he finished third by 2.5 lengths. He sat mid-pack most race, had a little bit of turn of foot late, but Stubbins and just got to him, and Leinster just got to him. But he still ran a decent race. He improved a little bit off the race before, which came in the turf sprint at Kentucky Downs. 6 furlongs, 10th to 7th. He finished 4th by 2 3/4 lengths there, and he stalked. He just really couldn't get that good turn of foot, but for his first start off the break on a very tough turf course, the layout, I thought he ran a decent race. And then the Group 1 King Stand at Royal Ascot, 5 furlongs on the softer side of good turf. He finished 6 by 4 3/4 lengths, and he just never got there, never quickened up. It just wasn't the day to win. Blue Point went on to win twice that week at Royal Ascot. And then before then, the Shakertown at Keeneland, 5.5. He won by a neck. He sat back early, had a great turn of foot, and he got there in the nick of time. He's the kind of horse, he gets set a little bit closer. He's not gonna set the pace, but he's gonna be in the mid group of horses, which I think you should be, going 5 furlongs on the turf here at Santa Anita. 8-1. I like the price. He's been training beautifully at Gulfstream. Let's take a shot with him. We'll also use the 5 horse Stubbins, the horse that beat Imprimis last week at Keeneland. 3-year-old colt by Morning Line. Doug O'Neill trains. Flavian Pratt gets the leg up. Keep in mind, Flavian Pratt did win the last Breeders' Cup turf sprint here at Santa Anita, with obviously going down the hillside turf course, and obviously his final start ever. Made some money with them. I had money on obviously that day, and also hit a pick 3 that connected the races. I can't remember which races were, but good memory. But the Stubbins, I actually had him most recently in the Woodford at Keeneland. Another horse I made money with. 5.5 October the 5th, and he won by 3/4 length at 7-1. He sat back early and took good advantage of that long stretch at Keeneland, and he got there in the nick of time. It was a very good run. Before that, he ran the Franklin Simpson Stakes at Kentucky Downs, 6.5 September the 12th. He finished second by 1 3/4 lengths, and he just stalked most race. He had a little bit of turn of foot, but he still needed that extra turn of foot to get him over the going there. But Kentucky Downs could be a little bit difficult for horses, and I don't know if this horse really liked it, but he showed his heart out there. And then the La Jolla Handicap at Del Mar, 5.5 16th. August 4th, he finished 6 by 5 1/4 lengths. He just stalked and really, again, couldn't get that good run. And then they took the horse before that Del Mar, 5 furlongs off Cylinder Claimer. He finished third by 1 1/4 lengths. Ben Eddie Haskell's run back this one today. Again, first off the break, he ran okay, but he still can improve a lot more. You're going to see a very quick pace in this one, and I think it could be, I think as close as you get to it. 12-1, I'll also use him on the ticket. Also, he's 2 for 2 here at Santa Anita. Okay, it was down the hillside turf course, but, he still likes his turf course, which is good. So 12-1. We'll use him along with the 10 horse Eddie Haskell. Mark Glad trains this local based horse, the 6-year-old given by Square Eddie. Joe Rosario gets the mount. This horse in the local prep race for this race in the Eddie D, he finished second by a half length, and he had a horrible trip that day, but he really closed up well late behind Pee Wee Reese, who's making his third start off in like 5 years it seems. But he closed up well. Before then, the Green Flash at Del Mar, he ran a good place there behind Mr. Vargas, and then before that he won at Del Mar very nicely in the same race Stubbins is coming out of. But he's 12-3 here on this turf, of course, but he's 14-9 at the distance. Like I said, he'll probably be a little bit close to the pace, if not on it. At 9-2, we'll give him a shot also. He can win, but I do prefer the 2 in top, who I have on top. But to recap my selection for the 5th from Santa Anita, it's the Grade 1 $1 million Breeders Cup Turf Sprint. As a top selection, we'll use the 3-horse Impromise as a top selection. We'll go 3-5-10-2 in the superfecta, and we'll go 3-5-10 in the multi-race pick 4. So let's get to the dirt mile, race number 6 from Santa Anita. Race number 6, it is the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, Grade 1 event going for a purse of $1 million, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have 10 horses going to the main track, the distance of ground of 1,600 meters, or 1 lap around the Santa Anita Dirt Course, which is 1 mile in circumference. 1,600 meters, 1 mile, main track. The top selection in the dirt mile, I'm going to go with the number 4 horse, Mr. Money. I'm going to go 4-2-5-7 in the superfecta. 4-2-5-7 super. Top selection of 4 horse, Mr. Money. The 3-year-old colt by Golden Sense. Brett Calhoun trains. Gabriel Sayas gets the leg up. The horse's most recent out came the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby at Parks, mile and 8th, September the 21st. The horse finished second by a neck behind Math Wizard, who just closed up from nowhere to get him. This horse ran a good race on the front, and he just couldn't get there late. Couldn't get that extra kick late, but he still, like I said, he still ran a good race. Before then, the West Virginia Derby at Mountaineer, mile and 8th, August the 3rd, he won by 6. He stalked, he got the lead, a little bit wide, but you want to be wide at Mountaineer. He got the job done, a very good run. And then the Indiana Derby at Indiana Grand, mile 16, July 13th, he won by 2.5. He, again, a wide trip, but he took off clear from the stalking position. A very good run. They had the choice probably to go to the Classic with him, but I don't know if he's going to like them on a quarter trip, but he's going to love the mile here today. His sire, Golden Sense, won this race a few times, so and actually here at Santino, which I think is very good. He loves the 2-turn mile trip also, and like I said, I just think everything points to him here today. And 6-1 right now is a great price. Do I think you're going to get 6-1 at post time? No, I think he's actually going to go down in price. But if we get 6-1 at post time, I'll be cartwheeling and everything. But like I said, he's had a very good under the radar season. Won the Pat Day Mile, won the Matt Win. The only subpar races were the his earlier 3-year-old races in the Louisiana Derby and the Risen Star, where he just wasn't up to scratch there. But he improved a lot on Derby Day in the Pat Day, and then ever since then he's been a great horse. He's been training well. 6-1. Let's give him a shot on the multi race. I'll also use the 2-horse Improbable. I think he's sitting on a good race. 3-year-old colt by City Zip. Bob for Trans. Rafael Bejarano gets the mount up. I believe Rafael Bejarano actually won, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he win one of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Miles with Golden Sense? I can't remember now, but this Improbable, his most recent outing came at Parks, mile and 8th in the Pennsylvania Derby, where he finished 4th by 1/4 lengths, and as the favorite, he didn't break all that well, which could happen sometimes to him, and he just never got there. It wasn't the day to win. Before then, shared belief at Del Mar, 1 mile, he won by 2 3/4 lengths there. He stalked, he got the lead, then he took off clear. Okay, it was against lesser quality horses, but he still got the job done. And then the Preakness at Pimlico, mile 3/16. He was very fractious before the race, very fractious in the gate, then break all that well, and he finished 6 by 3 3/4 lengths. It just wasn't the day to win. And then the Derby, he finished 5th. He was picking up pieces late, but it wasn't anything spectacular. But then had a very good second place finish in the Arkansas Derby and a very good second in the Rebel. Before that, he won the Low South Charity very nicely, won the Street Sense last year at Churchill very nicely. I think a mile trip it should suit him well. He doesn't need the pace, so he could come just off of it, which I think is good, because I think you're going to see a quick pace in this one. At 3-1, training well. He's another horse I'm going to use on the multi-race ticket. But to recap my selections now for the 6th from Santa Anita, it's the Grade 1 $1 million Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Let's take the 4-horse Mr. Money as a top selection. We'll go 4-2-5-7 in the superfecta, and we'll go 4-2 in the pick 4. Let's get to the Billionaire Turf, race number 7 from Santa Anita. Race number 7 from Santa Anita. It's probably one of my favorite races of the afternoon because I think you can make some money with the 7th race. The 7th race, it's the Maker's Mark Breeders Cup Filly Mare Turf. Grade 1 race going for a purse of $2 million. Race for fillies, mares, 3-year-olds, and upwards. We have a field of a dozen horses going to the lawn. The distance of ground of 2,000 meters with the distance of ground of a mile and a quarter on the Santa Anita lawn, the turf course. 2,000 meters, a mile and a quarter here in the Filly Mare Turf. The top selection, I love the one-horse Iridessa. I'm going to go 112-2-3 in the superfecta. 112-2-3 super. Top selection, one-horse Iridessa. 3-0 filly by Rule of the World. Joseph O'Brien trains when Wayne Lorden gets the leg up. Joseph O'Brien looking for his first Breeders' Cup victory as a trainer. Of course, he did win it in a Breeders' Cup race, the turf to be exact, with St. Nicholas Abbey. May he rest in peace in 2011. Quite impressively for his dad, Aidan O'Brien. But this horse's first start stateside, first start at Lasix, but most recently they ran the horse into Group 1 Sun Chariot at Newmarket, 1 mile on softest ground on the 5th of October. He finished third by 2 lengths. He stalked, but he never quickened up. But the mile trip is not to his liking. This horse loves the mile, quarter mile, 2 furlong trip, which she's going to get today. She's drawn wide. She's going to see a good pace in front of her, and I think she's going to love every bit of it. Also, she goes up a lot with firm ground. Before that, Leopardstown, 14th of September, 1 mile on the Rock Matron Stakes, and she won by 3/4 length, upsetting at 10-1. She actually upset the dual Guineas winner, Hermosa. She stalked, she got the lead, and then she just went away with it. A very good run. And then the Curra in the Irish Oak, she finished 7th by 11 1/4 lengths. The mile and a half just got to her, and she never quickened up. Starcatcher won next start out. She ran that better race. And then before then, the Pretty Polly Stakes at the Curra mile and a quarter. She won by 2 1/4 lengths, and she stalked, she got the lead, and then she just beat Magic Wand, quite easily. Magic Wand actually was a bridesmaid a lot this season, never the bride. She actually ran a decent race, I thought, last week in the Cox Plate at Mooney Valley in Australia, but this horse just got the better of her there. And then they ran this horse in the Irish 1000, where she finished 4th by 6 1/4 lengths. She just never quickened up. She's gotten better as the season is going on. Like I said, she's going to love the mile and a quarter trip, and I think she's sitting on the race for life. At 8-1, let's take her. It's always funny. Aidan O'Brien's never won this race, and it seems all the races that Aidan O'Brien has never won. It seems like his son Joseph O'Brien always wins it. Aidan O'Brien never won the the Melbourne Cup. His son wins the Melbourne Cup before him. What was the other race he won? Which there was another race I just can't remember that he won. Aidan O'Brien never won. That his son won. But it's gonna be quite cool with this one. 8-1. Let's take her. I'm gonna play 2 multi-race pick 4 tickets: the cheap ticket and the expensive ticket. On the cheap ticket, this horse is getting singled, and she's gonna get a very nice 1 place each way from me here. But we'll use her on the more expensive pick 4 ticket. I'm gonna use also the 12 horse. Fanny Logan, 15-1 here. Frankie Dettori's on the Strio filly by Sea of the Stars for John Gosden. Godolphin owns this horse, so it's quite cool to see Godolphin and Dettori up again. Wouldn't it be kind of cool for them to win a Breeders' Cup race again? It brings you back circa 1994 via to about 2012 with the Godolphin Dettori, but possibly renewed partnership if they win here. But this horse's most recent outing came the Group 3 Darley Pride Stakes in Newmarket, a mile and a quarter on soft ground. She won by a length, and she was carrying a good weight of 125 pounds there. She wasn't facing toughest horses, but she got the job done stalking. A very good, easy victory. That's the kind of race you want to see before a big, tough race like this one. Before then, John Musker Stakes at Yarmouth, a mile and a quarter. She won by 3 lengths, again on very firm ground. She got the lead, and then she could have won by more, but she was just destroying the competition. And the Up Avon Stakes at Salisbury, she won by 7 lengths. Again, she could have won around another 5 times. From the starting position, she ran well. Frankie Dettori knows this horse well. She's run these great races. She goes up on firm ground also. She's going to have to overcome a wide poster, but I think she'd get the job done. Keep in mind, I believe Gosden's never won this race, but Dettori has won this race in the past. Most recently, the last time was at Santa Anita in 2016, so he knows how to get the job done. At 15-1, she could be your wise guy horse, so we'll use her on the multi-race ticket, along with the number 2 horse, Sister Charlie. My thoughts on her is she's either going to run a massive race, the race for life, or she's just going to finish way out of it. This 5-year-old round by my boy Charlie Chad Brown trains. John Velasquez gets the mount. So this horse has done everything right so far this year. She won the Flower Bowl at Belmont very nicely. She won the Beverly D at Arlington in track record time very easily, and then she won the Diana at Saratoga in her seasonal appearance very nicely. She's coming to this race beautifully, but the problem is she's facing not the toughest group of horses this year. This is going to be the toughest group I think she's ever faced. But at 8-5, we'll use her as insurance on this pick 4. But I'm more confident in the 2 in front of her, especially Iridessa. But to recap my selections now for the 7th. From Santa Anita, it's the Grade 1 $2 million Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. Let's take the 1-horse Iridessa as a top selection. We'll go 1-12-2-3 in the superfecta, and we'll go 1-12-2 in the multi-race, pick 4. So now let's get to race number 8, the Sprint from Santa Anita. Race number 8 from Santa Anita. It's the Breeders' Cup Sprint, Grade 1 event going for a purse of $2 million, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses going the distance of ground of 1,200 meters, or the distance of ground of 6 furlongs on the Santa Anita dirt track, 1,200 meters, 6 furlongs, main track, dirt. The top selection here in the sprint, I'm going to go to the number 3 horse, Friends Fire. I'm going to go 3-9-4-1 in the superfecta. 3-9-4-1 super. Top selection, 3 horse, Friends Fire. This 4-year-old colt by Poseidon's Warrior. Jason Service trains. Ira Ortiz Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 28th September at Belmont. 6 furlongs in the Grade 1 Vosburg Invitational, and he finished second by a nose behind Imperial Hint. It was 25 cents a dollar. Got to him late, but this horse had a little bit of a trouble trip. He didn't have the best beginnings, a little bit wide, but for all said and done, after that trip, he still ran a decent race there. I think in this race, it's going to play towards a horse that's going to be, if there's going to be a dirt race today, it's going to play towards a closer. I think it's going to be this one, because you have a ginormous amount of speed in this one, and I think a horse that's going to stalk is going to get the job done. Here, 12-1, I think Friends Fire is the candidate to do it. Before then, the Grade 1 4-go at Saratoga, 7 furlongs August 24th. He finished second by 3 lengths there. He sat back early, had a little bit of turn of foot, was a little bit wide, but he still ran a terrific race there, earning himself a 99 buyer. And then the Vanderbilt Handicap at Saratoga, 6 furlongs July 27th. He finished 4th by 10 lengths, and he really just didn't have a lot. He was very wide, and it just wasn't the day to win. Before that, he ran in the mile at Belmont. In the mile trip, he finished 5th by 4 3/4 lengths and really just didn't get a lot there. But before that, he won the Run Happy at Belmont very nicely. He ran the Breeders' Cup last year in the dirt mile at Churchill, where he finished 4th. But since then, I think he's a lot more better horse, and he's more improved. He's back to the 6 furlong sprint. You're going to see a quick pace in this one. Like I said, at 12-1, I think a closer or somebody who's going to come from a little bit behind is going to get the job in this particular race. Let's take him here. I'm completely wrong, and there's going to be a closer, speed horse that's going to win, I think it might be Imperial Hint. 4-1 here, 6-year-old horse by Imperialism. Javier Castellano gets the mount. This horse's most recent outing came in the Vosburg at Belmont, 6 furlongs at 25 cents of the dollar. He won by nose. He set the pace. It looked like he was going to get passed by Friends Fire, but he fought back late. It was a very good, good fighting victory, but he's still supposed to win by a little bit more at 25 cents a dollar. That was one of those races. If you put a lot on him, like the bridge dumpers probably were, having a heart attack during watching the race, but he still got the job done there. And the Vanderbilt at Saratoga, 6 furlongs, July 27th. He won by 4 lengths in track record time, the first sub 108 6 furlongs in Saratoga history. He set the track record in 107 and 4/5 a second, winning by 4. He just took off clear, and that was his first off the Dubai race. So the Dubai bounce did not happen there. It was an all-impressive run. And then the Golden Shaheen at Maidan, 6 furlongs. He finished 3rd by 2 lengths. He stalked, but just never could get the good turn of foot. His races earlier this year between Tampa and Maidan weren't very good run races. He was supposed to win Pelican, but he finished 3rd by 5 lengths, showing nothing at Tampa. And then, he ran a little bit better in the Golden Shaheen, but he still could improve a lot more. But since the Vanderbilt, the horse has been peaking. His workout patterns have been getting better. Everything points to him here today, so let's take him also at 4-1. If you're going to play the multi-race, Matoli is a wise guy horse. He's had a very tough campaign, and the Vanderbilt, when he's seen faster horses, he just couldn't keep up. That was he's supposed to win. The Vanderbilt, I think, is the major prep for this year's sprint, and he failed that race. He didn't win the 4-go afterwards, but I don't know him at 6 furlongs. I think that know, with the faster horses here, I just don't prefer him here at 9-5. If there's going to be a vulnerable favorite on the card, I think it's going to be Matoli. If he wins, he wins. I'm wrong. You know, you're going to be wrong life sometimes, but I'm going to take a stand with a 2 in top. But to recap my selection for the 8th from Santa Anita, it's the grade 1 $2 million Breeders' Cup Sprint. Let's take as a top selection the 3-horse Friends Fire. We'll use the 9-horse Imperial Hint on the multi-race ticket, and we'll go 3-9-4-1 in the superfecta. Let's get to race number 9, the Mile from Santa Anita. Race number 9 from Santa Anita. It's the Breeders' Cup Mile, grade 1 event going for a purse of $2 million, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have an overflow field of 16 horses entered, but only 14 could go. The distance of ground of 1,600 meters, or the trip of ground of 1 mile on the Santa Anita turf course. 1,600 meters, 1 mile turf course here in the mile. And the Breeders' Cup Mile, the main thing is you have to have a good trip. If you don't have a good trip, you're not going to win. And with that being said, my top selection here, I'm going to go to the rail horse, Suédois. I'm going to go 1-9-4-6-11 in the superfecta. 1-9-4-6-11. I know I'm giving out 5 horses here. This race is usually a random race, so I'm going to go 5 deep here to begin off the pick 4. I think we could go a little lighter in some of the other legs of this late pick 4. But with that being said, the top selection is a 1-horse Suédois. This 8-year-old gelding by Le Harvey. David O'Meara trains. Javier Castellano gets on this one for the first time. The horse's most recent outing came the 5th of October at Keeneland, 1 mile in the Shadwell Turf Mile, and he finished 3rd by 3/4 length. He had a wide poster. He was very wide, but he closed up from nowhere. He ran a good race. He's shown a lot that day. Before then, the Group 2 Solano Stakes at Leopardstown, 1 mile, 7th to 14, excuse me. He finished 4th by 3 lengths. The winner, Space Travelers, running back in this one today, ran a major race that afternoon. But this horse, again, he closed up well a little bit late. I thought it was a good effort on probably, not as firm ground as he wants to see. Today he's going to see rock hard firm, which he should like. And then before then, the Supreme Stakes, a good one, 7 furlongs, August 25th. He won by a neck there. And I think I said during that video, if I'm not mistaken, Suédois has passed his prime, but he's probably going to win here today at 5-1. And he did win at 5-1. He got the lead and then just won quite nicely. It was a small margin, but Daniel Thedhope had the horse in hand. Before that, he ran the Lennox Stakes against tougher horse, finished 3rd by 2 lengths, and he just didn't have the best beginnings, but he closed up a little bit that day. He's a deep closer. He's a good post draw. If he could get a good trip late, I think at 20-1, he has a logical chance of winning, so we'll use him here, and I'll have to be proven wrong. Like I said, at Goodwood, I said he was past his prime, but maybe the 8-year-old gelding can get it done. Let's see, at 20-1, I think he can. We'll also use the 9-horse here, Circus Maximus. He's the 3-1 favorite. 3-year-old colt by Galileo. Aidan O'Brien trains. Ryan Moore gets the mounts. I don't believe Aidan O'Brien has ever won this race, so he's looking for his first victory here. The horse's most recent outing came the 8th of September at Longchamp, 1 mile on soft ground in the Group 1 Prix de Moulin de Longchamp, and the horse won by nose that day. He was a little bit drifty in the straightaway, which, he interfered with Roman Eyes. In America, Circus Maximus would have been disqualified since it was a small margin, but they didn't take it down. It was a very weird run race. He has to keep a straight course. Before then, the Gentleman International at York, mile 5/16, he finished 7th by 4.5 lengths. He set the pace, but then he just hit the wall. The better horses got to him, and then the Group 1 Sussex Stakes at Goodwood, 1 mile, July 31st, finished 2nd by a half length behind Too Darn Hot. Unfortunately, it was Too Darn Hot's final race that afternoon. He just ran a major race. This horse just stalked, really couldn't get that good turn of foot. But before that, he got to the other side of Too Darn Hot in the St. James Palace at Royal Ascot. The mile trip around the round course, he won by neck there, and he just stalked. He held on to a very, very good victory on very soft ground. He's gonna like the firm ground here today. He loves the mile trip. He's off a little bit of refreshing. At 3-1, he also looks like he get a big piece here, so we'll use him along with the number 4 horse here. Traz Floraz, this 5-year-old horse by Dancel, gets Billy Lee on this one. The horse's most recent outing came the Group 3 Prix La Coupe de Maison Lafitte, of course Maison Lafitte, a mile and a quarter on firm ground. He finished 3rd by 1/4 lengths. At 70 cents a dollar, he stalked. He just couldn't get there late. Maybe the mile and a quarter got to him late, but I think the cut back to a mile should suit him well. And the firm ground also should suit him well. Firm ground he liked last time, May Sounds of Feet. Before that, Deauville, a mile and a quarter in the Group 3 going up Biron Stakes. He finished third by 2 3/4 lengths. Almeida, who ran a major race that day, and it was a very good horse, just went away with it. This horse didn't break all that well, and he really never got the good turn of foot. I also think the soft ground got to him. And then on softer ground, the Group 3 pre-Mesidor at Deauville, he finished second by a half length. And again, he closed up a little bit that day, but the winner just ran that better race. But this horse has some hidden class into him. He actually placed behind some decent horses like Crystal Ocean. If you go back to his 3-year-old form, he ran against some tougher horses there in the Prix d'Espagne and in the Prix Bertrand de Breuil and Chantilly as a 3-year-old. He ran against some tougher horses there. He's come this race well. The French-based horses in this race have a great record, a lot better than the English-based and the Irish-based horses. So with that being said, at 20-1, you want to definitely use this horse. He's going to get a good trip from an inside post draw, and he said his races on firm ground are far superior. At 20-1, he's a horse definitely use on your ticket. I might even do a sneaky win place each way on him if his odds get nice enough, but definitely use him here. I'm very excited about him. Actually, in hindsight, thinking about it right now, I should have probably used him second and then Circus Maximus. But with that being said, I'm going to use him here. I'm also going to use the 6-horse Got Stormy. I think this is the best of the American-based horses. 4-year-old filly by Get Stormy. Mark Cassey trains this mare. This filly, Tyler Gaffleone gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came at Woodbine in the Woodbine Mile, going a mile on the turf course, and she finished second by half length. She stalked. She had the lead for a little bit, but then she just couldn't get there. El Tormata just got to the horse late. Before that, facing the boys in the Forest Star Dave handicap on the week turnaround, she won by 2.5 lengths, and she beat a good group of horses there. They set a quick pace early on, and she just closed up well and earning herself at 108 Buyer, best of her career. It was a very good run. A week earlier in the Della Rose at Saratoga, a mile in the inner turf course, she won by 4. She stalked, she got away with it, and she won by 4. It was an all-around great race, earning 100 Buyer, and then she placed in the Distaff Turf Mile at Churchill on Derby weekend behind Bro Recall. She just couldn't get there late, but she still ran a good race. She's coming here to Santa Anita for the first time. I think she'll handle the turf course. She's drawn well. She can sit closer. 7-2. I think she's the best of the American-based horses here. And we'll also talk about the 11-horse here, Uni. This 5-year-old mare by More Than Ready. Chad Brown trains this one. Joe Rosario gets the mount. She's done everything right also almost this year. She won the first lady at Keeneland very nicely a few weeks ago. Placed in the 4-star Dave, and then won the perfect sting at Belmont. She's a horse. She's used to traveling. She's traveled cross country already. She actually won the Matriarch very nicely against some very tough horses at Del Mar last December. Won the Noble Damsel at Belmont last year, and won last year's De La Rose. Like I said, she's a very good horse. I think she can win here also. The only thing that sucks about her, she's breaking from the parking lot post number 11. But horses have won on the parking lot here at Santa Anita, especially in the mile in the last few years. I believe 2014 Caraconites won from post position worth like 11 or 12 or 14, something like that. So it can be done. But at 7-2 a closer, I'm going to take him and use her on the ticket. Like I said, the mile's usually the most random race, so you want to go deep in this one. So to recap my selection for the Knights from Santa Anita, it's the Grade 1 $2 million TVG Breeders' Cup Mile. As a top selection, we're going to use the number 1 horse, Suédois. I'm going to go 1-9-4-6-11 here in the superfecta. 1-9-4-6-11 here, but to tell you the truth, I'm probably going to go 1-4 actually as the exact and put what's that horse, Circus Maximus down to third, but and we'll use all 4 of those numbers in the pick 4 or multi-race wagers. So those 5 numbers again was 1-9-4-6-11, so 1-9-4-6-11, but like I said, we're probably going to go 1-4. 1-4-9-6-11. I don't want to confuse you. So now let's get to race number 10, the Distaff from Santa. Race number 10 from Santa Anita. It is the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff Grade 1 event going for a purse $2 million, race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 11 horses going to the main track, the distance of ground of 1,800 meters, or the 1 1/8 trip on the Santa Anita main track. 1,800 meters, 1 1/8 main track. The top selection here in the distaff, I'm going to go to the number 4 horse, Midnight Bisou. She's done everything right this season. I'm going to go 4-5-9-6 in the superfecta. 4-5-9-6 super. Top selection of 4 horse, Midnight Bisou. This 4-year-old filly by Midnight Loot. Steve Asmussen trains. Mike Smith gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came here in New York at Belmont, a mile and 1/8 in the Grade 2 Beldame Invitational, and she won by 3 1/4 lengths. She stalked, she got the lead, and then she just took off clear. She didn't even break that well, but that didn't really matter because she just still won very nicely, earning herself 91 buyer. It was the kind of run she got the job done. Before that, she ran in the personal incident at Saratoga, mile and 1/8, August 24th. She won by a nose that day. She had to be used a lot. She came from behind. She got there in nick of time. Late fought back, ran a terrific race, or some kind of terrific race. She was a little bit wide, but this horse got there in nick of time. It was a good run. And then the Miley Pitcher at Monmouth, mile 16, July 20th. She won by a length that day. She stalked and she won. Wasn't the most impressive victories, but she got the job done. Before that, she won the Ogden Fitz very impressively. I thought that was one of the best races of the year. Won the Apple Blossom Handicap very nicely. Won the Azaria at Oakland very nicely. And then she started her season all the way back on the 27th of January at Sam Houston, mile 16th in the Houston Ladies Class. She won by 3/4 and like that 20 cents a dollar. Very wide, but she got there very nicely late. Something I love about the training job for Steve Asmussen with this horse, he's taken this horse to Saratoga, right after the Beldame, basically a week later, and she's been here at Santa Anita, since the 4th of October, 7th of October. That was her first published workout, 4 furlongs, 51-3, just to get her situated over the track, and then since then, her workouts have been getting better. 6-5, she's probably going to be the shortest priced horse on the card, and I just think she's going to really run a good race. With that being said, I'm going to play 2 pick 4 tickets. Expensive ticket and the cheap ticket. This is the kind of horse I would single on the cheap late pick 4 ticket. If I could find a price here, it would be the 5 horse Dunbar Road at 6-1. I think her price might actually drift up just a tiny bit. 3-0 by Quality Road. Chad Brown trains. Jose Ortiz gets the mount. The horse ran the Spinster a few weeks ago where she finished third by 1 1/4 lengths. She stalked. She just couldn't get there late. Blue Prize, who loves Keeneland, got the jump on her, but she still ran a decent race. Before then, the Alabama at Saratoga, mile 1/4, August 17th. She won by 2 3/4 lengths, and she circled the field, beating Point of Honor and Street Band. She just took off clear. That was a very good run on a very, very, very sloppy racetrack, poured right before the race, and it just got stupid sloppy there. And then before that, she won the Mother Goose very nicely and broke the and then the allowance race at Gulfstream. At Belmont, she won by 5 1/4 lengths, winning very easily. If there's a horse could upset, I think it'll be her at 6-1. Let's use her, but I'm still more confident in Midnight Bisou. Like I said, she's been training here last month, and I think that's going to be the key. But to recap my selection for the 10th from Santa Anita, it's the Grade 1 $2 million Breeders Cup Distaff. Let's take the 4 horse Midnight Bisou. We'll go 4-5-9-6 in the superfecta. We'll use the 4 horse Midnight Bisou on the cheap pick 4 ticket single, and we'll use 4-5 on that expensive pick 4 ticket. So now let's get to the 11th race, the Turf from Santa. Race number 11 from Santa Anita. It's the featured turf event of the weekend. It is the Longines Breeders Cup Turf, going for a purse of $4 million. Grade 1 event here, going for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 12 horses going to the turf course, starting on the hillside, the distance of ground of 2,400 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 mile and 1/2 on the Santa Anita lawn, the turf course. 2,400 meters, 1.5 miles here. And the turf, the top selection, I'm going to be wacky with this one. I'm going to go with a shot with the 7 horse Olanak. I'm going to go 7-5-10-9 in the superfecta. 7-5-10-9 super. Top selection 7 horse Olanak. This 4-year-old colt by Camelot. Clement Lucaviera is on this one. The horse's most recent outing came the 12th of October at Woodbine, a mile and a half in the Grade 1 Canadian International, and he finished second by a half length. First start at Lasix at 13-1. He was really closing up well late. I thought he ran a good race with a wide trip there. Biggest question with him, though, is he's 4-0 at on a mile and a half distance, but he also, one thing that he's going to love today, he's going to love the firm ground, and I also think he's going to see a good pace to close with. Before that, in Germany, at Baden-Baden, 24th of August, mile and a quarter, and the Pries de Spachen Fetsgruppe Stakes, pardon my German's horrible, and my German, I always say my French is horrible, which it is, but I can speak better French than German, which is really bad because my grandmother is from Austria, and she would be rolling in her grave right now hearing me speak German and screwing up the language, but pardon that. But there in Germany going the Mount Quarter trip, he won by head, and he stalked, he got the lead, and he got there in nick of time. It looked like, it took a little bit of time for him to get going, but he got the job done late. It was a very good run. Before then, in the Grand Prix von Berlin at Hoppergarten, a mile and a half, August 11th, he finished 5th by 4 lengths. It was a very tough race there. Old Persian came out of that race, finished 3rd, and then went next start out in the Northern Dancer at Woodbine. But this horse set the pace. He kind of hit the wall late, but the ground was a little bit on the softer good side. Maybe he didn't like it there. And then before that, in a Group 1 at Munich, not even going to pronounce the name, a mile and a quarter, 2,000 meters, he finished 4th by 7.5 lengths. Again, he just really couldn't get there, but, the mile and a quarter is not his trip. I think the mile and a half, even though he's never won at it, I think that's in his wheelhouse. He hasn't won since the 8th of April of 2018. That came at Dusseldorf, a mile 3 on good to soft ground and listed stakes where he won by 6 lengths, and he sat on the front and all throughout and won quite nicely. Since then, he's faced some tough horses. He actually placed behind the French Derby winner of 2018, the Prix de Jacques Club winner, Study of Man, and the Group 2 Prix Gafoul Saint-Cloud in 2018. He finished 2nd behind him. He just couldn't get there late, but Study of Man got the jump on him, but he still ran a terrific race. After that, he placed in a very nice listed stakes at Hoppergarten earlier this year, and like I said, he's run well this year, but he's just never getting the victory. At 21, I think he's going to see a good pace, and I think he'd get the job done, so let's take him. We'll also use the 5-horse Anthony Van Dyke, 3-0 colt by Galileo. Ian O'Brien trains this one. Ryan Moore gets the mount. This is your English Derby winner of 2019. He won the Derby by a half length, but since then he hasn't won. He ran a decent second place finish in the Irish Derby, but the winner Sovereign just went away with him on the front end. Great ride there by the jockey. Made money with him. He was a mass price of like 60 to 1 here. He paid like a stupid amount of money. But that day, the pace just the front runner just went away with it. And then after that, facing all the horses for the first time, the King George, he finished 10th by 39 lengths. He didn't like the wet ground, and it got to him. He just hit the wall completely. And then he came back to a decent 3rd place finish in the Irish Champions. Back to a mile and a half, 3rd time facing older horses. It's not the toughest turf in the world. I think he can get the job done. But the one thing that scares me a little bit, his only start in North America, okay, was that Churchill was a disaster. Maybe it was because the softer ground, but since then he's done everything right. He won he's done mostly everything right. He won the Derby trial at Lingfield, won the Derby, and had a decent second place finish out in the Irish Derby. But at 3 to 1, we'll use him here. But I'm more confident in that Al Nook before Anthony Van Dyke. I do think also Anthony Van Dyke is going to get bet into the ground here with the O'Brien factor. I think the 10-horse Old Persian is a wild card horse. This 4-year-old colt by Dubois. Charlie Appleby trains. William Buick gets the mount. This horse won the Northern Dancer at Woodbine very nicely a few weeks ago, but then he'll run these weird races. He's not very consistent. He ran a disappointing 3rd, I thought, in the Grand Prix von Berlin, and then ran a disappointing 7th in the Coronation Cup. But he did everything right in the UAE. Okay, those aren't the toughest group of horses in the UAE over the winter, but he still got the job done there. I do think out of both the races he had there, I do think the City of Gold was the better race, because he just had a disaster run. But like I said, he can be hit and miss at time. At 4 to 1, I would use him as an insurance play, but I'm more confident before the 2 in front of it before this one. The 9-horse Bricks and Mortar is another horse. He's either going to get the mile and a half or he's not. He's not. If he wins today, he's horse of the year. I think he won the Arlington Million, he won the Manhattan, won the Turf Classic, won the Muse Memorial, and won the Pegasus World Cup. All those races quite easily. But the biggest question: can he get the mile and a half? He's been training well, but like I said, he's going to have to run the race for his lifetime. 9 to 5. Again, he's a horse I'll use as an insurance play, but I'm more confident the horse is proven at the mile and a half trip. But to recap my selection now for the 11th from Santa Anita, it's the Grade 1 Longines Breeders' Cup Turf. Gonna take as a top selection with the 7-horse Alonek. I'm gonna go 7-5, 10-9 in the superfecta. We'll definitely go 7-5 in the multi-race. We'll see if we're gonna use Bricks and Mortar and Old Persian here. We'll have to wait what the payroll is, or the bankroll, but definitely 7-5 for here. So now let's get to the 12th race, the Classic from Santa. Race number 12 from Santa Anita. It's the big one. It's the Breeders Cup Classic. Grade 1 event going for a purse of $6 million. Race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 11 horses going the classic trip of ground of 2,000 meters or the distance of ground of 1 mile and 1/4 on the Santa Anita dirt course. 2,000 meters, a mile and a quarter, main track in the classic. The top selection here, I'm going to take a shot with the 6-horse Elate, the Mare. I'm going to go 6'11", 4'5" in the superfecta, 6'11", 4'5" super. Top selection, the 6-horse Elate. This 5-year-old male bred by Deli de Oro. Bill Montrain's Jose Ortiz gets the leg up. And if you're wondering, has a Mare ever won this race? Yeah, 10 years ago, Anita won it. So we're going up to the 10-year anniversary. Let's make another Mare win this race. But this horse Elate likes the mile and a quarter trip. She's 3 for 3 out of it. We'll get to it in a second. But a head scratcher was her last run at Keeneland. A mile and 8th in the Grade 1 Spinster. She finished second by a half length. She stalked early on. She had the lead for a midpoint, but Blue Prize, who's running earlier in the day in the distaff, just fought back. She just couldn't get there late. It was a very head scratcher. Maybe Jose was saving the horse for this race, but she should have won that day. Before then, the Grade 1 personal incident at Saratoga, a mile and 8th, August 24th. She finished second by a nose. She stalked. She had the lead. Midnight Bisou came out of nowhere to get her, but she ran a good race there, just as good as I thought as Midnight Bisou, running a 105.4 by her best of the season. And then the Delaware Handicap, mile and a quarter at Delaware Park, against lesser quality horses, but she still won by 4.5 lengths. She stalked, she got the lead, and then she just went home very easily. Didn't even get the stick. An all-around great effort. And then won the Florida Liz Handicap at Churchill, mile and 8. She won by 1.5 lengths, and at 90 cents a dollar, again, she just won very nicely closing up. She's not going to set the pace, but she's going to stalk, which I think is good on this racetrack. And I like the way her workout patterns are. She's been training very fast, which I like. 6-1, I'm going to take a shot with her. Looking over the other horses here that could possibly get the job done, maybe the 11-horse Code of Honor could get the job done. I have him second here. 3-year-old colt by Noble Mission. Shug McGahee trains. John Velasquez gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came on the 20th of September at Belmont. Mile quarter in the Jockey Club Invitational. First time facing older horses. He finished second by a nose, but because Vino Rosso was coming out on him in the stretch, he got interfered with, and they had to swap the orders. Did I think it was the right call? Yes, I do, because it was a small margin, and usually when that happens, the horse that gets interfered with is usually going to win. But this horse ran a terrific race, a little bit wide, but he got the job done. Before then, the Travis Saratoga, mile and a quarter, he ran the race of his life against some very tough 3-year-olds. He won by 3 lengths. He sat back early, circled the field a little bit wide the top of the lane, or actually not a little bit wide, he was a lot wide, but it didn't matter because he went away with it, winning by 3 lengths, an all-around good effort. And then the Dwyer at Belmont, 1 mile, July the 6th, he won by 3 1/4 lengths there. He sat back, got the lead. Didn't even matter that John Velasquez lost the stick because he just took off clear at the end. A very good run. And then I thought his Derby wasn't a bad race, going a mile and a quarter at Churchill. He took the shortest way around the racetrack. He just kind of hit the wall in the straightaway, but he still ran a decent second through disqualification that day. But a race you could absolutely throw out was his Florida Derby effort. A mile and 8th at Gulfstream. There was a pedestrian slow pace on the front end, and a horse like him needs a little bit of a faster pace. They went too slow for him early on. He finished third by 6 3/4 lengths because he just never really got a good turn of foot to go with. Maximum Security just walked there. Even Bodie Express in Maine that day walked. But before that, with a fast pace at Gulfstream, mile 16, the Pound of Youth, a distance at Gulfstream, the mile 16 doesn't play towards closers, but this horse closed up well, winning by 3/4 in length. He just took off clear. That was a very good run. If you remember last year, this horse was actually supposed to run in the Breeders' Cup in the juvenile, but he was scratched because I believe of a fever or a foot bruise, something like that. So maybe the stars are aligned today for him to run in the Breeders' Cup and also to finally get that good Breeders' Cup victory. I think he's live at 4-1. Let's take him. I think a wise guy horse who's either going to run the race of his life or just finished way out of it will be the 4-horse War Will. 3-year-old colt by Warfront. He's getting blinkers on today, which I think will be very good, and I like him being forwardly placed here. Tyler Gaffleon gets on this one. This horse has had a very tough campaign. He's making his 9th start of the year. His most recent outing came in the Pennsylvania Derby at Parks, mile and 8th on the 21st September in the Pennsylvania Derby. He finished third by 1/4 lengths. He's just stalked most way around the race course. He never got the good turn of foot, but he improved, I thought, off the race 4, which is the Jim Dandy at Saratoga Mile 8th. He finished 5th by 5 lengths. He beat one horse home. He set the pace early on, but then he just kind of crumbled. He just couldn't get there late. And then the Belmont, a mile and a half in the Belmont Stakes. After a very tough Triple Crown campaign, he didn't break all that well, was wide throughout, and he just couldn't stay the trip. But before that, Pimlico, mile 3/16 in the Preakness, he won by 1/4 lengths, and he took the shortest way around, which was great. It was a great ride by Tyler Gaffleo, and all the holes opened up for him. He should have been the favorite that day, but he didn't get that down. He was 6-1, and he just took off clear. It doesn't get any easier than that. That was a good victory there. In the Derby, he did get interfered with by Maximum Security. I don't know how to explain that run because it was just very weird. But before that, in the Louisiana Derby, actually had a muscle cramp, which cost him the race, which was very weird. That's why he fished way out of it. But before that, he won the Risen Star very nicely. He won the LeCompte very nicely and broke his maiden at Churchill and Lassonde very nicely in the dirt in his dirt debut. He actually ran some stakes races as a maiden. He actually ran last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf as a maiden, where he finished 5th, where he ran okay, and then ran a decent 4th in the Bourbon and a decent place in the summer of 2018 at Woodbine. But I think sitting forwardly placed on this dirt course will be ideal. 20-1. He's, like I said, he's the wise guy horse. He's either going to run a massive race or he's not. I'm going to use him as an insurance play. I have Yoshida 5th here. Fourth. He's breaking from position number 5. 5-year-old horse by Heart's Cry. This track is not playing towards deep closures like he is, but he still ran. He's gonna like the mile and a quarter trip. And most recently, the last time he won a mile and a quarter was in last year's Breeders' Cup Classic, where he finished 4th by 1/3 lengths. He was closing up late. I thought he ran a terrific race there. After that, they ran him in the Pegasus Turf Cup, where he finished 6th. Very soft ground. I don't think he liked it. They took him to Dubai, where he didn't really run well, and ran crap in the Stephen Foster. But he found his form back in the Whitney, placing behind McKenzie, who's running back this one, and then he had a decent 3rd place finish in the Woodward a few weeks ago at Saratoga. He's a horse, again, if something happens where a closer is going to win, I think it's going to be him, but 8-1, it's going to be very tough for him. I don't know if I'm going to use him on the pick 4 or pick 5, but he's a horse you definitely want to use on the superfecta tickets for the underneath, maybe even exacta, but to win, you're going to have to really pray that something, that there's going to be a very big pace meltdown. But Mike Smith up on this one is also a plus. So those are my thoughts on my thoughts on the top 4 here. Here are my thoughts on the other horses in this. Let's go in post position order, starting off with the one-horse Math Wizard. This 3-year-old colt here, Ricardo Santana Jr., gets the leg up 30-1. His claim to fame is by winning the Pennsylvania Derby at 31-1 a few weeks ago at Parks. He won the race closing up and earned himself a 99 buyer, but I just don't like him here. I think that was a fluke run. I just can't take him at 30-1. Maybe the underneath 4th or 5th for the super high 5 or the super, but nothing higher. Not a use for me. The 2-horse Seeking the Soul, I think he's past his prime here. He won the Stephen Foster, but another race, but last time out in the Awesome again locally here at Santa Anita in his debut locally, he finished 4th and just ran absolutely bad and just never got into it. He hasn't been training this so well. Like I said, I'm just not going to use him here on the 1, 2, 3, maybe the 4th or 5th, but that's about it. 3-horse Owendale I think will be overbet today. He did win the Oklahoma Derby very nicely, but and then he ran okay in the Travers, but he was beating some lesser quality horses in the Oklahoma Derby and Ohio Derby. He's gonna have to see a major pace meltdown to win. Again, 4th or 5th, I would use him, nothing higher. We already talked about War Will, Yoshida, and Elite. The 7-horse Higher Power. Okay, he did win the at Del Mar a few weeks ago in the Pacific Classic, but again, he's stepping up a major class here, and his Santa Anita races haven't been run very nicely. He's a horse I just can't use here. The 8-horse McKenzie, if I had to give you a horse that I would use 5th on my ticket, it would probably be him. 4-year-old colt by Street Sense. He hasn't run quite well here at Santa Anita, and also what everybody's talking about, he hasn't run a mile and a quarter races very well either. Bob Baffert trains. Joe Rosario gets the leg up. Not a big fan of the jockey switch. I don't think Mike Smith did anything wrong, but most recently in the Awesome again at Santa Anita, he finished 2nd. Mongolian Groom just walked on the front end and just set it easily for him. But this horse, he just never got going. But like I said, his Santa Anita races, he hates this track. He's 7-3 on it. It is his home base, but he's run better outside of it. One of his 3 victories here were in the Malibu, and then he won the Sham here as a a 2-year-old, and then you have to go all the way back to his 2-year-old campaign for the other victory. But other than that, he's run pretty crap here. Ran a disappointing second in the San Pasquale. Okay, was on a sloppy track, then disappointing second in the Santa Anita handicap, and then of course a disappointing second in the Awesome again. Hasn't run particularly well here. He's just not a if he wins, I'll applaud him. But at 3-1, I think he's very vulnerable. The 9-horse Mongolian Groom, it seems to be your discreet lover kind of horse of this year. Discreet lover, best to be remembered by winning last year's Jockey Club at like 50-1, and running in last year's Classic where he did nothing. I think Mongolian Groom's the same way, but he's traveled all across the country this season. He's making his 11th start this year. He started off in the Santa Anita handicap where he ran 3rd, then ran the Charlestown Classic where he ran 5th. He actually ran in the San Juan Capistrano, the best race in the world, I think, mile 3/4 here at Santa Anita where he finished 6th, didn't really show a lot. But then he opened up winning the Awesome again by 2 1/4 lengths on the front all throughout, 110 Buyer. That was a very good run, but you were there for the wedding. Do you want to be here for the funeral? You're not going to get anywhere near 25-1. I just think that was a fluke run. I'm not going to use him here. The 10-horse Vino Rosso, if I have to use a horse tied for 5th, it would be him with Mackenzie. He of course, he ran the Jockey Club. He ran a terrific race on the front, and he was weaving in the stretch, which cost him the victory, but I still thought he showed some heart there. He ran a 3rd in the Whitney, where he ran okay, but he could improve a little bit more. But he's a course and distance winner, winning the Highwood Gold Cup here on Memorial Day by 3/4 length. He stopped, he got off clear, and that was a very good run. It was against slightly lesser quality horses, but he showed a lot there. I think if you look at his other races this year, he ran okay in the Carter, and then he won the Stymie very nicely at Aqueduct, a race that's very rich in history. If he wins today, it'll be kind of cool saying a Stymie winner won the Breeders' Cup Classic. With that being said, he's going to have to do an awful lot 20 today. He's drawn very wide, and his good races, his wins are few and far between, but 4-1, he's on the brink of being good. Possibly use him on the multi-race, but I'm more confident in the others. But to recap my selections now for the 12th from Santa Anita, it's the Grade 1 $6 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's take as a top selection the 6-horse Elite. We'll go 6-11-4-5 in the superfecta, and we'll go 6-11-4 in this pick 4 to end it off, or pick 5, whatever you decide to play. Probably pick 4. For 50 cents, it's going to cost you around $60 or so I think it's affordable, and I think if it comes out, you're definitely going to make money with this one. So again, for the Classic, my top selection is the 6-horse Elite, and we'll go 6-11-4-5 in the superfecta, 6-11-4 in this pick 4 or multi-race. So good luck to all. Please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5, and remember to go check out my Melbourne Cup preview video. Good luck, everyone.